This is Gemara Nedarim Daf Lamid Zayin, and we're holding on the bottom of Lamid Vav Amid Beis. And the Gemara quotes the Mishnah that teaches us Melamdei Midrash Halachas Agadois Avol Lo Yelamdei Mikra. We're in the middle of discussing what happens when one is Meider Hana from his friend. What are you, yes and no, allowed to do for him? So said the Mishnah, you're allowed to learn with him Medrash Halachas and Agadois, but you're not allowed to learn with him Mikra. Now, why there is this split, of course, that is going to be the topic of today. So says the Gemara, Mikra, my time Yalamdenu. What's the reason why you're not allowed to teach him? What's the reason you're not allowed to teach him Mikra? Mishom, the reason being, because you're benefiting him. You're teaching him Torah. No, that's not the benefit. As we'll see in a moment, that the fact that you're teaching him Torah is the fact that you're doing a mitzvah. Mitzvah is lav lehanas ninu, and therefore that is not the reason why there would be a potential hana. So rather, what is the reason why there would be a potential hana? So Mafarshim over here explain, the Ran explains that what's the reason? The reason is because usually you pay someone to teach you. You have to pay the rabbi, you have to pay the tutor, and therefore you get out of that payment, and that's the reason why you're not allowed to teach him Mikra. So on that vein asks the Gemara 3 lines from the bottom of Vavam Beis, Medrash and Ami Komahanile. So 1 second, Medrash should be the same thing. Why are you allowed to teach him Medrash? We should have the same question, that you're getting benefit, that you usually should have to pay him and you are not. So Amar Shmuel, answer Shmuel, a specific case the Mishnah is talking about. So says Shmuel, that's why the Mishnah, there's a difference between Mikra and Medrash. There's a difference between Chumash and Midrashim. You know why? Because we're dealing with a specific case. We're dealing with a place that they pay for Chumash, and therefore, if you're doing something that you normally would get paid for, there is a potential benefit, and that's why you're not allowed to do it. But Medrash, there would be no benefit. Why? Because they don't get paid for it, and therefore it's mutter. So the Gemara asks, Zavi is kasha, my paska. Shmuel is just almost out of left field, randomly throwing down this chilik between Mikra and Midrash. So ask the Gemara, Shmuel, where did you get this from? If you could show me a source, you'll show me a makar where you understood this difference, fine. But seemingly it's coming from nowhere. So where, Shmuel, are you coming from? So answers the Gemara as we turn over to today's daf of Lamed Zayin. Amid Aleph. HaKamash Malon, you know what's going on over here? You know, we see that the Chiddush is the Afilu Be'imakoim Shenoitlin Schar Ala Mikra Shari. The Chiddush must be that you know what Shmuel is teaching us, that even in a place that you, yes, generally pay for Chumash, it's still gonna be Al Mikra Shari Lemishkal, but ala medrash lo yishari lemishkal. Again, let's read that one more time. I think I read it a little bit off. Hakamash on the top line. Ta'afilu b'makom shenoit linsachar. We're talking about a place where the yes pay the teachers, the yes pay the rebbe. So therefore, ala mikra, you're allowed. This is a kloliistic, this is a general halacha that we're learning right now. We're learning the halacha, when are you allowed to pay for Torah? Ala Mekra, on Chumash, you're allowed to get paid for. And therefore, if you're going to teach someone Chumash that there's a Neder Hana, there's a benefit. Ala Medrash lo yishari lemishkal. So Shmuel is almost weaving in over here a very hidden but tremendous halacha, that you're allowed to take money for Chumash, but not for Medrash. Says the Gemara, where does this come from? Okay, so now we understand. But Ma'ishna Medrash Delay, why not Medrash? Tersev, says the Pasik, V'oi Siva Hashem, Beisahi, says Moshe Rabbeinu, Hashem commanded me at that time at Har Sinai, L'lamay Deschem, to teach you. So says Moshe, I was told to teach Torah. Uksiv, and the Pasik furthermore says slightly further, these are Psukim in Dvarim. So says the Torah Uksiv, this is actually an earlier pasuk, but about this story, about Moshe Rabbeinu teaching Torah, Uksiv, Re'eh, you should see, Lamati eschem chukim umishpatim, kasher sivani Hashem, as Hashem commanded me. So what do we learn out from here? Ma'ani bechinam, afata bechinam. Says Moshe, just as I, Moshe Rabbeinu, are teaching you Torah, and I'm not getting paid for it. Hashem taught me the whole Torah in Har Sinai, and now I'm passing it along. And just like I'm doing that, says Moshe Rabbeinu, Afata, when you teach Torah, when you teach Mikra, Nami, when you teach Medrash, that was a slip. When you teach Medrash, Nami b'chinam. So that's the source that any time you're teaching Medrash, what? You're not allowed to get paid. But now says the Mar, fine, so Mikra Nami b'chinam. What's the difference? This whole source is Moshe Rabbeinu. So based on this source, based on this drasha, learning out that just like Moshe Rabbeinu took it for free, so you should pay to teach it to others for free. We should say the same thing about Chumash. Answers the Gemara two fundamental terutzim regarding the fact about taking payment for Mikra. And these terutzim, 7 lines down, the first one line is the Mikra, really are coming to teach us that for Mikra, for Chumash, you're really not allowed to accept money. So why are we learning that you're yes allowed to accept money? Says the Gemara, because you're not taking the cash for the Torah itself. Rav Amar, you know what you're taking when you teach Chumash, Schar Shimur. You're taking wages, you're a babysitter, you're a watchman. So the fact that you're watching the kids as you learn with them, that's why you're getting paid. For Rav Yochanan Amar, Schar Pisak Taimim. Says Rav Yochanan, no, you know what you're taking payment for? You're taking payment for, not for the Torah, but for the trop, for the timing, for the fact that together with the Torah you're teaching the proper way of laning. That's what the payments are for, says Rav Yochanan. So fundamental machlekes, Rav and Rav Yochanan, this machlekes is really going to govern the almost entirety of today's daf. Why is one allowed to get paid when teaching Chumash? Rav says you're allowed to get paid because you're a babysitter for these children. Rav Yochanan says you're allowed to get paid for teaching the trop. It says the Gemara, Kasha on Rav. Now we learned to the Mishnah. Lo yilamdenu mikra. The Mishnah teaches us that you're not allowed to teach mikra. This is our Mishnah. So now we have to plug in the two reasons why you're generally allowed to get paid into our Mishnah that said if someone is Meider Ana, you're not allowed to learn Chumash. So according to the second opinion, according to Rav Yochanan, that the reason in general you could get money for a Chumash is why? Schar Pisak Taimim for teaching the trop. So it makes a lot of sense in the Mishnah. So therefore, if there's an Neder Ana from another person, don't teach him Chumash because you could get paid and you're not, and therefore there's Ana. According to Rav's Schar Shimur, according to Rav, what is the reason why you're allowed to take cash when it comes to teaching Torah? Is Schar Shimur. The reason is because you're a babysitter, but that's only by a child. Ask the Gemara, Gadol Bar Shimaru. What's going on? We're talking about a Gadol in the Mishnah. I make a Neder Ana from you. Says the Mishnah, I'm allowed to teach you Chumash, but I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed to teach Chumash. I'm allowed to teach Medrash. Ask the Gemara, I don't understand. The whole reason why you're allowed to take money for teaching Chumash, according to Rav, is for babysitting. But if I would teach you Chumash, you, the listener, who's for sure, not for sure, anyone's allowed to learn, but let's assume you're a Gadol, I would be allowed to take money? Wait, the only reason you would take money is why? Is for babysitting. And 1 second, there's no babysitting if you're a Gadol. So why in the Mishnah would it not be allowed to teach a Gadol Mikra? Answers the Gemara, Be'katan Katani. The Mishnah is talking about a Katan, Anukimta. The case of the Mishnah is a Katan. Ask the Gemara 1 second, even Katan, if the whole Mishnah is a Katan, name a Seifa, says at the end of the Mishnah, Aval Melamid as Banav Mikra, that this person who has an Neder Ana is not allowed to teach his friend Mikra, but he's allowed to teach his child Mikra. But now that's a fundamental problem, as we keep on seeing. Katan Bar Banamu, is it Katan, is a minor able to have children? No way. So what is going on in the Mishnah? Again, according to Rav Yochanan, that the reason why in general you're allowed to take money for teaching Mikra is because of the trop. The Mishnah is great. So in the Mishnah, if I teach a Gadol Torah, I would be allowed to take money, and therefore I cannot teach Torah to one that has a Neder Hana. But according to Rav, but according to Rav, that the reason why I'm allowed to take money for teaching Torah is because for babysitting. So if you're a gadol, there's no babysitting. So why? You're going to tell me the Mishnah is about a katan, but the Mishnah says later in the Mishnah that the person's allowed to teach his own kids, but a katan doesn't have kids. So answers the Gemara, Chasurei Mechsera Vehachi Katani. Answers the Gemara approximately 15 lines from the bottom. The first word on line is Chasurei Mechsera. Answers the Gemara. We have to insert a few critical words into the Mishnah. Let's read it together. Lo yilamdenu mikra bikaton. You're not allowed to teach the person that you made a neder hana from mikra. That's referring to a katan. And im haya gadol, then melamdoi loy. Then you're a yes allowed to teach it. Why are you yes allowed to teach it? Because according to Rav, you would not be allowed to do what? Take wages. Why not? Because the whole reason you could take wages is normally by mikra is babysitting, but a gadol has no babysitting. Ulebanav mikra, you're allowed to teach him and his children mikra chomesh. That's the answer for Rav. Continues the Gemara. Meisvei, another kasha on Rav. Tinoi kais. Children, you're not allowed, you should not teach them new material. Perhaps the original makar, why there's no yeshiva on Shabbos. Because you can't teach new material on Shabbos. Elam, shoinin. But rather, what are you allowed to do on Shabbos? Shoinin do chazara barishin. The first chazara you do on Shabbos. So says the Gemara. According to Rav Yochanan, that why are you allowed to take money for teaching Chumash is because you're teaching the trop. So that's the reason why you're not allowed to teach for the first time on Shabbos, because you're not allowed to take money for Shabbos. Schar Shabbos. You're not allowed to take wages for working on Shabbos. But according to Rav, that the reason why you take wages for teaching Chumash is because for babysitting, what's the reason that you're not allowed to teach something new on Shabbos, but you're yes allowed to do Chazara, Shabbos? You should be able, both cases should have the Schar Shabbos, so it should all be Aser. So retorts the Gemara, according to you, Rav Yochanan, Schar Pisach v'Shabbos, mi Aser. Asks the Gemara, is payment for teaching the Chuppah on Shabbos really it's Aser? Havlahi. It's a case of Havlah. It's literally absorbed, that the payment is subsumed in something else. V'Havlah Mishra Shari. What does this mean? This is a klal yisoid in Schar Shabbos. This is really the halacha l'maisa. You're not allowed to pay someone for working on Shabbos. If I come and I teach you Daf Yomi on Shabbos, you say, oh, I want to give you $100. No, I can't take $100 for you for learning together on Shabbos. So what do we do? But you want to pay me. So you know what we do? I learn with you on Friday. I learn with you on Shabbos. I learn with you on Sunday. And then on Sunday you say, we learned together for 3 times. Here's $300. So even though one of those $100 is for Shabbos, but because the payment is for an entity including non-Shabbos, it's havlah, it's subsumed, it's assimilated with other monies, and then it's going to be mutter. And that is the halacha l'maisa. That's the way that waiters get paid. That's the way that balei teikeya get paid, etc., etc. Now, how it works in all cases, where are they working also not on Shabbos? Perhaps the answer is they're preparing and they're practicing. Okay, now is not the time for a shir on Hilchos Shabbos. But now, says the Gemara Tanya, as we learned in our Brisa, you hire a worker, a babysitter, to watch your child on Shabbos, or lishras apart to watch your animal, lishras azrayim, to watch your foliage. Nice little schar Shabbos, you're not allowed to pay him for working on Shabbos. Lefikach, therefore, as we turn over to Lamed Zayin Amid Beis Im Avdai, since you're not allowed to pay them, Einach Chaybach Ryusan, they're called a Shaimer Chinam. But let's say you're paying them for the week, for the month, or for the year, schir shavua, or for these 7 years. then nicely schar Shabbos. Then you're allowed to pay them for working on Shabbos. And because they are a shomer sachar. So ask the Gemara, what's the big question? This is in the middle of a larger question. Ask the Gemara, so you seem to have said according to Rav Yochanan, everything is good and dandy, because according to Rav Yochanan, there's the schar pisuk taimim, there's the schar for teaching the trup. Says, how are you allowed to do that? What must the reason be? The reason must be that the only heter is going to be havla. So what's the difference going to be? So answers the Gemara, we have to say a totally new reason why there's an isser to teach children on Shabbos. Again, we had a brisa that said you can't teach new material, but you could chazer, you could review for the first time. And we can't figure out what's going on over here, because regardless, whichever way you tweak it, either it's going to be havla, or it's going to be usher in all scenarios. Ella says the Gemara Gabe Shabbos. You know why you should not teach a child new material on Shabbos? I You know why? Misham. The reason being the yifnu avasana dianuka, because the father is waiting to fulfill the mitzvasa the Shabbata, the mitzvahs of Shabbos. Either what this means is the father is waiting to play with the kids, which is their oineg Shabbos, or the father is waiting for the child to start the Suda. Just to quote the Ran over here, Sha'avois is the second narrow line. Hatinoikos pointing the mitzvah Shabbos umishtash and hatinoikos. They play with the kids in Shabbos. Vim yikaru hatinoikos lechatchila. And if you're going to teach them new material, yachosh levatulam. So that's why you should not teach. An interesting reason. The reason you should not teach children new material on Shabbos is why? Because their fathers are waiting for them at home. Iba Yisema, second tower it says the Gemara, Mishum de Shabbat Achla v'Shasin v'Yakir Alehoin, because in Shabbos you eat and you drink more than normally, and v'Yakir Alehoin, and they grow lethargic. V'Yakir Alehoin Alma, and they grow very tired. K'damar Shmuel Shinivas T'chilus Chayli Me'ayin. The reason you should not teach a child. You should not teach a child new material because the child eats more on Shabbos than he does during the week. And he feels very bloated and lethargic, and he doesn't have the head, the Ion Meruba, to learn in depth on Shabbos. So says the Gemara, that's the reason why you're not allowed to learn new material with a child on Shabbos. Okay, so all the kashas on Rav we answered. We're just left with one, not a kasha, but it's a basic idea. Says the Gemara, 10 lines down. The first one line is Me'ayim. Uleman damar schar pisik taimim. According to Rav Yochanan, my time lamer schar shimer. Why doesn't Rav Yochanan hold of Rav? Rav said that you get paid for being a babysitter. Why doesn't Rav Yochanan hold of that? Answers the Gemara, Kasavar, Banois, Mika Bayin Shimer. Do girls need to be watched? No. So Rav Yochanan needed to give a reason why you're yes or no allowed to learn with a girl. And the reason has to be, says Rav Yochanan, because of the trap that you are teaching. So now the Gemara flips the question. Why doesn't Rav hold the Rav Yochanan? You know why? Because Rav answers that schar pisik taimim is a din de'oraisa. And therefore, just like Moshe Rabbeinu taught that you're not allowed to teach Torah for money, ma'ani b'chinam, ma'fata b'chinam, like we learned in Amud Aleph, says Rav, the trup is intrinsic with the words themselves, and if you have to teach Mikra for free, you have to teach the trup for free as well. Ta'amar Rav Ika Baravin, Amar Rav Chanan el Amar Rav, Mai Dechsev, what is the meaning of the passage that says, V'yikru b'sefer, Tairas olakim mefurash, v'samseichal v'yavinu ba mikra. What does this pasuk teach us? So now the Gemara dissects this pasuk piece by piece. V'yikru b'sefer Tairas olakim, what does that refer to? Zemikra. Mefayrash, what does that refer to? Zetargum. V'shamseichal elu apsukim, that's the breaking up of the psukim in the Torah. V'yavinu, and they understood. B'mikra, what does that refer to? Zapisuk taimim. So this is the source that the trup is de'araisa, as we see it's learned out from a pasuk in the Chemya. V'amri la ilu ha'me soy rois. These are the Messiahs, the traditions of Kriya and Ksiv, etc. And that's the answer of the Gemara. Why, according to Rav, who says that the reason that you're allowed to get paid for teaching children is babysitting. He doesn't say, like Rabbi Yechanan, that the reason is because you're teaching them the trop, because he holds you're not allowed to get paid for teaching them the trop, because the trop is a din de'a raisa. Amar Rav Yitzchak, we're just going to start just to get our feet wet, but really this next statement of Rav Yitzchak is going to take us all the way into the entirety of tomorrow's Amar Aleph. Amar Rav Yitzchak, says Rav Yitzchak the following: Mikra Seifrim, the reading of the Seifrim, whether the vowels are verbalized or not, Ve'iter Seifrim, and the crowns that you put on the letters, Ukriyon, v'loi ksivan, uksivan v'loi kriyon, every kriyon ksiv in the Torah, halacha l'Moshe Misinai. These are all traditions from Moshe Misinai, and now we're going to go to prove this, and then we're going to go to give examples, but we're going to leave all that for tomorrow, b'siyata dishmaya.